Alaskans, wherever you are, welcome to the Must Read Alaska Show. Coming to you from somewhere in Alaska. This is the place where we talk about, you guessed it, Alaska. Where we keep the mainstream media on their toes and where we are standing up for what's right in a world run by leftists. You can find out more by heading over to mustreadalaska.com and also checking out the Must Read Alaska YouTube channel for some really great content. But first, let's get this party started.
Welcome, everybody, to the Must Read Alaska Show. I'm your host, John Quick, coming to you live from somewhere in Alaska. I hope everybody's having a phenomenal summer, getting out there, maybe doing some camping, some RVing. I know that me and my family have done our fair share of RVing this summer with family and friends. It was a blast going all the way up to Denali, a bunch of places on the Kenai Peninsula, and maybe we'll sneak in one last trip before summer ends. For folks that listen, watch, and read Must Read Alaska, and you want help to keep the lights on, just go to mustreadalaska.com on the right-hand side. There's a little donate button. Every $5, $10, $100 helps keep the lights on here at Must Read Alaska. If you want to sponsor the Must Read Alaska show, just email me, John, John, at mustreadalaska.com. Would love to have you sponsor the show. We're doing another candidate highlight for folks that are running for office in Alaska, any office around Alaska, whether it's for state, federal, local. If you go to the Must Be Alaska Facebook page, pinned to the top of that page is a candidate spotlight forum where you can click on a link and sign up if you're running for office. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican or nonpartisan or anything in between. You can sign up and we'll ask you the questions on why you're running. And so today we have Senator Matt Claman on. So welcome to the Must Read Alaska show.
Good to be here this morning.
Well, this will be exciting to hear why you're running, where you're running. So tell us, where are you running and what are you running for?
So I'm running for state Senate and running for the West Anchorage seat, which is Senate District H. And I often like to say that more people come through Senate District H than any other Senate district in the state because the airport is here.
Nice. So what got you to run for office in the first place? You've been serving for a little bit. What got you to throw your name in the hat for the first time you ever ran?
Well, I've always been concerned about making government more responsive and aware of community interests and community needs. And I mean, I think I always come back to what Lincoln said, about government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And that's always been, in significant ways, my guiding light in public service is how are we actually not serving my interests, but how am I representing the community and working for the community? And since I represent West Anchorage, I'm very focused on West Anchorage needs, statewide needs as well. But I think in particular, I need to be tuned into some of the particular challenges and concerns that we face here in West Anchorage. And then I think the other part that's always been really important is really working to protect our Constitution. The Alaska Constitution is really, to me, the foundation of our government and really provides the core values that tell us how to work together and move the community forward. And so I've always been very focused on understanding the Constitution and reminding myself about what the Constitution says about how we should work and how government should really, again, coming back to what Lincoln said, of the people, by the people, and for the people.
Nice. So you're already a senator, obviously, but you're running for re-election. If you get reelected, what were some of those top priorities that you would either focus on or refocus on if reelected?
Well, it's the same kind of things I've been working on. At the top of the list is really keeping tuned into the Alaska Constitution and understanding the values and the principles are there and continuing to support those values. Top of my list are always public safety. Public safety is one of the, in some ways, I like to think of it as government's first priority. And so I think we have to work every day to improve public safety and make wise use of our public safety resources and do that in a way that's going to improve public safety both in big communities like Anchorage and small communities across Alaska. There's no shortage of challenges, and we continue to have to get the best value for our investment in public safety. And then I think the second part is fiscal responsibility. We really need a responsible action plan for Alaska that really looks at how do we make balanced budget decisions, how do we protect the permanent fund, and how do we make budget decisions that reflect our top priorities. and what I consistently hear from folks in our West Anchorage neighborhoods, but I really hear it from folks statewide, that those top priorities are exactly what's in the Constitution: public safety, public education, public health.
So you live in a district, I think, that's kind of fairly balanced. You got a bunch of Democrats, a bunch of Republicans. What's it like living in a district like that?
Well, I think part is to really listen to folks. It is a very balanced district, and I think that's what I always remind myself, that I have many conversations about saying, well, this isn't a place in which if you're on the hard left or the hard right that you're going to find that you're representing the majority of folks. You really have to find what is that place that has shared values where people can work together and say, like for example, I don't really run into anybody that isn't concerned that the Anchorage police have 50 open officer positions. And to me, that isn't a Democratic or Republican issue. That's simply a community issue, and that we need to hire to fill those positions. Similar challenges in the state troopers. They have a lot of open positions, and that is not a Democratic or Republican priority. That's on the public safety. Really important to grow business and grow our economy, and economic growth and a strong business environment is very much a community issue. It's a public issue. How do we keep Alaska's economy going? And I think there have been challenges in recent years, and so we really have to figure out how do we keep working and make it easier for folks to work. And one of the areas that I've worked a lot in, and I always focus on, is we often hear folks say, well, Alaska is open and ready for business. I think every governor since I've been an adult in Alaska at some point in the first few months says, we're here to say Alaska is open and ready for business. Alaska and open and ready for business takes a lot of work. It means statutory changes. It means looking at how we're spending the government money that's involved in some of the different things that impact business. I mean, it's everything from, if we don't have the adequate money put in for snow plowing, we're not going to be open for business because nobody can get to the store or nobody can get to work. And so those are very shared concerns that we have. And so those efforts to really work to get Alaska open and ready for business has been a real focus of ours.
I'm just curious, have you seen inflation affect government or folks in your area? I was just texting with a school board member local here on the Kenai Peninsula, and today actually, and we were chit-chatting about, the cost of transporting kids in a bus, just cost of everything seems to go up. Has that affected folks in your district at all?
Oh, yes, it certainly does, because part of what we've been challenged with on a statewide level is we don't always keep our spending consistent with inflation. In Anchorage, it's actually kind of interesting because one of the functions of the Anchorage tax cap is that it gets adjusted every year based on population change and inflation. So the amount of money the city can collect for taxes keeps pace with inflation. And on a statewide level, although we're aware of inflation, if you look specifically, say, at public education and look at where is public education today compared to 20 years ago, we have not kept pace with inflation. And that starts affecting maintenance of schools. It starts affecting the ability to recruit teachers, start reflection, getting kids to school and school buses.
So are you hopeful for Alaska? You're in the thick of it with lawmakers, you're running for a re-election, so you obviously try to make a difference, but are you hopeful for Alaska? Do you think our economy's got a chance to rebound here in the next future while our I got kids that are turning 16, grandkids long down the road, but I'd like to see them stay in Alaska. Are you hopeful for Alaska?
I'm incredibly hopeful for Alaska. I do think our best days are ahead of us, but I think getting there, we're really going to have to work together and find what's best for Alaska and what's going to work for Alaska, and really move towards the kind of bipartisan things we've been seeing in the legislature for the last several years. I mean, it's on a national level, Alaska is a pretty amazing place. In the 50 states, there are only 2 state legislative bodies that are controlled by coalitions, and they're both in Alaska. We have a bipartisan coalition in the Senate, combination of Democrats and Republicans. And actually, for the last 8 years, people forget because it's trended a little differently from time to time, whether it's a little more conservative or a little bit more progressive. But the House has been a coalition of Democrats, Republicans, and independents for the last 8 years. And the decisions that get made because of those coalitions are different than what you see getting made in the other legislatures in our 49 sister states. They don't have the kind of working together that we've done in Alaska. I think we're a great example for the country. And I think in terms of how do we get to work and build our communities, that kind of working together is a model. And so that's one of the reasons I'm so optimistic about Alaska.
So what separates you from your other opponents? I think you have at least one, maybe two opponents. What separates you? Somebody's going to go to the ballot box and have a choice. What separates you from your opponents?
I think I've got two opponents. I think they've experience, but I think what I bring is I have more experience and a better understanding of how to bring diverse perspectives together to get legislation passed and make the kind of agreements that we need to move forward. And some of that, I think, comes with my experience as acting mayor in 2009 at the height of the financial crisis, having to make incredibly difficult budget decisions that were many of which were very unpopular, but had to make those to really look at the long-term health of the Anchorage community. And I think it's that experience dating back to my time as acting mayor, but also the work I've done in the legislature in putting together legislation that really brings broad support. And a lot of that is really detailed issues, working through very detailed issues and having to set some of my own opinions aside to find how do we get to that common ground. And I think I bring experience doing that my opponents don't offer the same experience and record of doing that.
What's been a pleasant surprise, running for office, getting in there and thinking, oh, I didn't see that coming? Has there been any kind of pleasant surprises since you've been elected to office?
Oh, there's always a number of pleasant surprises. One of the areas is sometimes the way people will come together. One of the pieces that we worked on, for example, this year was telehealth legislation, modification to the telehealth bill that we passed a couple of years ago. But we discovered, because I was contacted by a constituent with ALS, that we actually kind of had this gap in our telehealth coverage. So people that needed to see multidisciplinary care teams, they could see the doctor that was head of the team, but they couldn't see the rest of the multidisciplinary care team by telehealth. Well, the actual process of getting that legislation put together and working it through the Capitol took some time. But every time I'd be working on things, I'd run into folks talking about that, and they had stories that completely unexpected about how people came together. And then a group of people, it's a fairly small group of folks in Alaska that suffer from ALS and suffer from other life-threatening diseases that legislation will help. But they all had unique stories, and it was really inspiring to see how we could make small steps in legislation that will make big differences in their lives. And so that's really been some of the stuff that I think has been really exciting. And then, of course, when going door to door, you'll get these questions sometimes that are just completely unexpected. And I think the other day somebody was asking questions about what was my favorite flavor of ice cream to go with the chocolate chip cookie, and I'm like, I've never been asked this before, but they know what I thought about it.
That's funny. So there's going to be folks listening in that'll want to hear how they get in touch with you. Tell us all about those details, website, where they can find you on Facebook or social media, maybe a best way to get a hold of you. Tell us all those details.
Yeah, the best place to get in touch is through the website. It's mattclaman.com. There's email opportunities, but on the website you'll find my cell number. My cell number is readily available. It's 907-350-3105. People call me regularly on the cell phone. Sometimes people will call up and say, "Oh, I thought I was going to get a recording. I'm so sorry. I'll call back." You say, "No, you actually, I answer my phone, but I talk with people." And they'll say, "Well, can I get somebody to bring the yard sign by?" I say, "Of course." And then I might be the one that brings the yard sign by, and they'll say, "I thought you all had a team of people that did this." And I said, "Well, I have a campaign staff and they help a lot, but sometimes I'm the guy that brings you your yard sign." And so call me on the phone. I work hard to respond promptly to emails, and check out the website. There's a lot of information about the campaign and about my experience.
Awesome. Well, Senator, 15 minutes here has gone by in a flash. Do you have any last minute thoughts before we head off here? The floor is yours for a couple minutes.
No, I just want to thank you for the time to visit today and get this recorded. I'm always committed to moving Alaska forward and growing our economy and improving public safety, and really paying attention to public education and how our kids are doing in schools. But I always come back to recognizing that our Alaska Constitution really gives us great guidance on how we should work as an effective government, and that's one of the great pieces of history we have. I think more and more that I work with it, we have probably the best Constitution in the United States, and that's a lot to be proud of, and a lot to be proud as a standard for showing us how best to work in your legislature. So I certainly appreciate your vote in the election coming up, and look forward to hearing from you as the election goes on.
Well, Senator, thank you so much here for joining us here on the Must Read Alaska show. Folks, I'll put all the details of his website and stuff like that in the podcast description. So if you're interested, feel free to click on that and check them out. For folks that listen, watch, and read Must Read Alaska, and if you want to help keep the lights on, just go to mustreadalaska.com. On the right-hand side, there's a little donate button. Every $5, $10, $100 helps keep the lights on here at Must Read Alaska. If you want to sponsor the Must Read Alaska show, the #1 podcast in Alaska, just email me, John John, at mustreadalaska.com. Would love to have you sponsor the show. Well, I hope everybody has a phenomenal rest of their day. Go enjoy the summer, get some sun rays. Until next time, I'm John Quick from somewhere in Alaska. Thanks, Senator.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.